Josh Deese has used intermittent fasting to lose 160 pounds and keep it off for 2 years. Josh, thank you for being here today and for sharing your story. Why don't you give everybody a little intro? Who are you and what do you do?
Sure. So my name's Josh. I'm originally from South Carolina. I work in technical sales, so I've worked at Microsoft and IBM and those companies. So that's kind of where my career is. But my background is I grew up in the South, and I always struggled with obesity all the way up until my early 20s, and then I went through a major weight loss transformation. I've lost 160 pounds in total, and I share that story on my YouTube channel as well as on my social media. And so, yeah, that's kind of who I am and what I do. One of the things that I think makes me a little bit unique and stand out from some of the other weight loss stories is I not only just lost the weight, but I've also got into bodybuilding and building muscle and kind of made that transformation as well. So, yeah.
That's awesome. So you've lost 160 pounds.
Yep.
How long did that take, first of all?
Yeah, so it was kind of a two-pronged approach, right? So I was your classic rebound. I lost 100 pounds in total up front when I originally started my weight loss journey. And the reason I got into the weight loss journey was because I was in college. I was at a regional campus and I was getting ready to relocate to the main campus, and I was going to have to live, on campus away from everybody. And I knew that getting around to classes and just being in college in general, being that overweight was going to be such a struggle. And so I knew I had to lose the weight. And I started out just by cleaning up my diet. I like to say, or Chris says, the common sense diet, right? Just cutting out junk food and cutting out sodas and doing a lot of cardio, essentially. And so I lost about 100 pounds actually doing that within about a year. But then I got relocated after I graduated college. I moved off. I kind of dealt with some little bit of depression and stuff like that, and I rebounded. I gained the weight back. Well, not all of it. I probably gained back around 70 to 80 pounds.
Oh, wow.
And after that, it was probably a year or so later that I finally decided to. I had proposed, so had a wedding coming up in a year, and I decided I wanted to lose the weight again, but for sure keep it off this time. And that's when I really got into intermittent fasting and weight training and doing all this other stuff. And I just kind of immersed myself into nutrition and exercising and all of that. And so in total, my weight loss for go from where I was at my heaviest to where I'm at now was several years. It wasn't something that I did overnight. It wasn't quick by any means. It was definitely a longer process because I did have that rebound period. But I've kept the 160 pounds off for almost 2 years at this point.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So what is your daily routine like nowadays?
I follow the standard typical 16-8 fasting schedule. So I fast for 16 hours. I have my first meal between 12 and 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I eat again before 8 p.m. at night, and that's it. So that's my eating routine. During my fasting period, I just drink black coffee and water. As far as what I eat for my meals and all, I'm really not trying to cut weight anymore, so I don't do the calorie counting or tracking anymore. I actually eat fairly large meals because I need it for my weight training and stuff. But I found that I've kind of gotten to that point where I don't really have to worry about gaining or losing weight anymore. It's just kind of maintenance level for me at this point. So that's kind of how I approach my nutrition. I follow that 6 to 7 days a week. Occasionally, sometimes I might not fast on a Sunday or something and have breakfast with my wife. But usually 90% of the time I'm doing the intermittent fasting. As far as my weight training goes, I train 5 to 6 days per week. I do heavy lifting. I focus on compound lifting. I did some power lifting and some bodybuilding style stuff, but pretty heavily, 5 to 6 days per week. And I like to train personally. I like to train in a fed state. So I train after I've had my first meal sometime later in the day.
Out of curiosity, did you ever try training in the fasted state? And what were your results with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I've trained in the fasted state a lot before, and as far as performance wise goes for weight loss and having energy and doing the cardio and just having overall endurance, everything was great. I actually felt fantastic. The only area I struggled in when it come to training in a fasted state was that my strength significantly decreased, which affected me when I was doing some of my powerlifting and stuff of
Right.
that nature. So it's a personal choice just to train in the fed state. I have a little bit better performance as far as the type of lifting that I do. But as far as just general fitness and working out, it feels fantastic to work out in a fasted state. Like I actually get more focus and actually feel like I have better endurance when I train in a fasted state.
So, did you have a particular moment? I know you said it was, you were at college, and you said that at that point you said, you wanted to lose weight, and then again with the wedding. Was there a specific thing aside from the wedding that made you want to lose weight for good this time? It sounds like it became just this final decision for you. What was there one particular moment that you can remember that you made that decision?
Yeah, I think for me, it really did come down to the wedding. I knew. Let me back up a little bit. When we got engaged, when I proposed to my wife, we had engagement photos taken, and I specifically remember hating those photos because of the way I looked. Right, so I was at a bad part. I just did not like the way those photos looked, and I knew going into the wedding, we had a year to plan it, that I didn't want to look back on that day and not be happy with the way I looked. Right, so
Right.
that was my driving motivation, is just I wanted to look as good as I didn't know how much weight I was going to lose. I didn't know what was going to be possible during that time period, but I knew that I wanted to look as good as I could for that special day, right? Because we were going to have those photos that was going to last forever, and I wanted that to be special, and I didn't want to have to look back on that and regret the way I looked. And so that really was my driving factor. And then I was one of those people that when I got into the fasting and then started the weight training and everything, I honest to God did fall in love with fitness. It became a passion of mine. And so once I got to the point where I lost the weight, I continued to go. I continued to push myself even after the wedding came and went. I've lost another 20 or 30 pounds since the wedding date,
Wow.
almost 2 years ago. So it's just a natural part of my life now. And fasting for me, it made everything so much easier, right? Because it just fit my natural style. I'm not hungry when I wake up in the mornings. I
Right.
like drinking coffee and then being able to have a larger meal later in the day as opposed to eating the 6 or 7 smaller meals spread out throughout the day. It just worked better for me. It fit my
Right.
natural lifestyle. So it made things easy. And then combining that with the weight training and everything, it just became my lifestyle, and
Mhm.
that's what I do up until this day, and it just fits. So that deciding moment for me was just not wanting to have regret on my wedding day and not wanting to look bad on that day, and then that just kind of led into this new lifestyle that I have now.
That's awesome. So, what are some challenges you still face?
For me, I think challenging right now is just finding that balance between not losing weight anymore versus trying to maintain muscle mass in the gym and make sure I keep my performance up in the gym. So finding that balance with, how much you're eating and trying to still incorporate, because I fast for other reasons, obviously, not just for the weight loss. There's other health, that there's tons of health benefits and it just makes you feel better and it fits my lifestyle. But at the same time, you also have to eat a little bit more when you're
Right.
training heavy in the gym and everything. So finding that balance, I think, has been a little bit of a challenge, but I think I've kind of gotten it down pat now. I'm not really counting calories anymore, which I did when I first started. I was using
Okay.
tracking my macros and everything. I
Mhm.
don't do that anymore. I just kind of gotten to the point to where I know what to eat, what works well for my body and for my training routine. But finding that balance still sometimes can be a challenge. Just making sure, because some days I'll get to the gym and I just feel like I don't have any energy left in the tank, and it's because maybe I didn't eat a good enough meal for lunch,
Right.
or maybe I fasted a little bit too long or something. Because occasionally I'll throw in a 16 or a 18 to 20 hour fast. I might skip a lunch and go till dinner sometimes as well. The longest I've ever fasted though is I did like a 36-hour fast. I've never fasted more than that. Just the standard 16/8 is what I follow most times. But I'd say if there's one thing that's still challenging for me, it's locking in that figuring out how much to eat to maintain my performance
Right.
versus not gaining weight or anything.
Right. That's an interesting thing, right? Going from eating too much and then sometimes like, oh wait, I didn't eat enough, and and that's the
Perfect,
problem. So,
perfect, perfect example. So I was following a pretty strict diet still. I still eat clean 90% of the time. I mean, I just naturally, there's just certain things that I would never go back to ever eating again. I would never drink a full flavored soda or anything like that. I don't do that, right? Those things are just out of my life
right.
entirely. But most times I'm eating clean. But then, for example, I went on vacation about a month and a half ago. We went to Mexico and visited my wife's family because that's where she's from, and I pretty much came off my diet completely, right? I was still fasting, but I was eating whatever I wanted. I was enjoying my time on vacation. And even now, since coming back from that vacation, I've never truly went back to a hardcore diet per se,
Right.
but I find that I'm eating a lot more than I was, and I'm still not gaining weight.
Right.
It's actually getting harder for me to gain weight now, which, like you said, is completely opposite from what got me into this to begin with. But your metabolism's sped up, you get used to the fasting and everything, and then with the training, and it actually becomes difficult to start gaining weight. So, yeah.
Uh, so what is one piece of advice that you would give somebody who's out there? They're trying to lose weight. They're probably struggling. What would you tell them?
My biggest advice that I always share and I tell people, and this is the thing that helped me out the most, is I would say no matter where you're at in your weight loss journey, no matter who you're working with or who you're going through it with, is always go at your own pace. Never let a trainer, never let a friend, never let somebody else that's your family member push you past what you're comfortable doing, whether that's with dieting or exercising. When I finally stopped relying on other people and stopped thinking I needed someone to go through this journey with me, and I took control of it myself, I was allowed to go at my own pace. And
Right.
that made the biggest difference in me being able to stay consistent and actually keep the results. So I
Amen.
would say go at your own pace, figure out what works for you. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. You're gonna go through this it's a lifestyle change. So figure out what
Right.
works for you and go at your own pace.
That is awesome. So if people would like to get in touch with you, Josh, what's the best way they can do that?
Yeah, so you can find me on YouTube at Josh Transforms. So I share a lot of my weight training videos. I talk about my lifestyle, fasting, some of the general advice around weight loss there. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram at Josh Transforms. Feel free to reach out and find me there. I'm very open. I like to say that I live what I preach, and I'm very open about sharing my experiences. My transformation story was shared on bodybuilding.com, so you can
Oh,
find that out on their public site. So yeah, feel free to reach out and contact me. I'm always happy to talk and chat.
okay. Thank you so much, Josh, for sharing your story.
Thank you, Kayla, for having me.
I hope you enjoyed that success story. If you have lost a significant amount of weight with intermittent fasting, please reach out to me at Kayla@sixmilestosupper.com. I would love to interview you for one of these success stories on my channel. If you're currently trying to lose weight and you're just having a hard time, check out my Slow and Steady Success Academy. There you'll find a course called Intermittent Fasting for Weight Loss 101, where I take you through the entire process from start to finish and how to implement intermittent fasting successfully in your life for weight loss. The link is in the description.